What's up, guys? Welcome to Wikipedia. I'm here in Normandy during the D-Day anniversary week. It's June 2025. Battle of Normandy obviously begins with Operation Neptune and the airborne drops beginning on June 6, 1944. But what gets talked about a lot less is where the Battle of Normandy ended. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. This is Falaise. On August the 12th, you have the commencement of Operation Tractable. And the objective of Operation Tractable, there's going to be two pincers. The northern pincer, spearheaded by the Canadians, was going to come here and take the town of Falaise. The Americans, meanwhile, were swinging down south after Operation Cobra, and they were going to be taking the town of Argenton. So between here at Falaise and Argenton, they were going to link those two pincers, thus sealing the German 7th Army here in Normandy, trapping them and preventing them to escape across the Seine River. Right now I'm looking to the northwest of Falaise. So down this road you would have had elements of the 2nd Canadian Infantry Division coming down this way. That would have been on August the 16th. And then back here you have these old medieval walls of Falaise. And actually on top of these walls, there would have been some German machine gunners defending this road towards Falaise. And actually this town was being defended by elements of, I believe it was the 12th SS Hitlerjugend Division. And there was going to be a spirited fight for this town. And I'll show you around and show you some of the damage that this town took during the battle. This is the famous church here at Falaise, and I'll show you around it because from the looks of it, this church got absolutely lit up during the battle. A lot of damage on this church. A lot of this town did have to be rebuilt after the war. It suffered very heavy Allied bombing raids because this was a road network town. They knew that the Germans would have to get through this town if they wanted to move up north towards the front line. So this town took an absolute beating during the battle from Allied bombers. I'll show some pictures right now, but so there's a good mixture between some modern construction and the old construction, but the poor people of Falaise definitely suffered during the war here. I'm inside the church here at Falaise. It's a beautiful church. It sustained really heavy damage during the battle and the bombings before the battle. And they have this really cool little diorama here showing what Falaise would have looked like during the war. It's crazy. You can see pieces of this church that were definitely patched up later after the war. So there's some definitely super old original bits, but then like right here you can see that's definitely a repair done after the war. Like I've said a few times before, it's sad to see what war does to beautiful places like these. Falaise is also famous for being the birthplace of William the Conqueror, the guy who famously invaded England in 1066 and conquered England and became king. And we'll check out while we're here his famous chateau that he built 1,000 years ago that took some pretty heavy damage during the battle. There's some pretty famous footage of this part of the chateau. This is like the main castle of William the Conqueror's chateau here at Falaise. And it just got pounded by Canadian artillery during the battle here in August 1944. But obviously it's since been patched up. It's a beautiful looking chateau. You could tell they're actually working on it right now. But yeah, it saw some serious damage in August 1944. After about a day of fighting here at Falaise, the Canadians were able to kick out the German garrison that was here. That was on August the 17th that they captured Falaise, and they immediately continued southwards towards where we're going next, which is Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives. This is incredible. This valley below me here is where the entire German 7th Army in the late days of August 1944 was trying to escape, going westwards to eastwards, trying to get through the area between those two pincers that I mentioned earlier, what's known as the Falaise Gap. And it should be more properly called the Chambois Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives Gap, because this village right below me here, this is Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives. The Canadians reached this village on August the 19th, and it's pretty hard to see, but way off in the distance, kind of where my finger is pointing over here, is the village of Chambois, where the Americans were coming, more specifically the American 90th Division. So between here at Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives and Chambois, which is really not far at all, is the entire German 7th Army's gap that they are able to retreat through. And Eisenhower himself said that this area, known popularly as the Falaise Gap, was like a scene from Dante's Inferno. You could walk for hundreds of yards at a time, stepping on nothing but rotting flesh. This plaque does a pretty good idea of explaining what I'm talking about. So behind me, down the road in this direction, is the village of Troon. Canadians took that village, I believe on the 18th of August, on their way to link up with the Americans here at Chambois. And I'm standing here, just outside of Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives. So between Chambois and Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives, this little gap right here was where most of that German 7th Army was trying to escape from. This is the approximate area where that famous picture of David Curry of the South Alberta Regiment receiving all those German prisoners here during the fighting at Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives. The fighting here lasted for 2 days, from the 19th to the 21st of August. And it was a brutal fight. They inflicted about 800 German casualties and captured another 2,100 in this town. And actually, David Curry, the commander of the Canadian battle group that was here, won the Victoria Cross for his actions in this village. It's so awesome to be standing here right now. Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives gets its name from this little body of water right here. This is the Dives River. It's really not much. In American terms, it'd be like a creek. The problem is that you cannot get vehicles across this thing, mainly due to the steep banks on either side, not because of how deep it is, which it's literally, you could walk across it. And the reason the Germans were fighting so hard for this village, Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives, is because of this bridge that I'm standing on right now. This was one of the only spots in the gap that you could cross the Dives River on. So that explains the fierce determination the Germans had to try and keep this area open for them. Before the Canadians were able to take the village of Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives, the Germans were able to use this bridge to move some of their vehicles across. But the Canadians were able to capture the village on August 21st, thus closing this bridge from German access. Okay, and the other place that the Germans were able to get vehicles across the Dives River in the gap was right here. This is the ford at Moisy. And you know, it really doesn't look like much, but there was a lot of death and destruction around this spot right here as the Germans were desperately trying to get their vehicles across this river. There's some photographs I'll show of some of the vehicles stuck here, or destroyed vehicles here. It's beautiful today, it really is. It's just, you know, in 1944, August 1944, this was a very chaotic place for sure. Now that is a view. If you look down here in, let's see, in this vicinity here is Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives. And then just over, can't really see it too well, but in this area is Chambois. Area in between is the Gap, the famous Falaise Gap, Chambois, Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives Gap, whatever you want to call it. The German 7th Army was retreating this way towards us. And I'm standing right now on top of Montormel. At least the French called this hill Montormel. The Allies on their maps called it Hill 262. And the Polish 1st Armored Division, which was defending this hill, called it the Mace. And I'm super proud to be standing here today. Wow. The Polish 1st Armored Division reached this hill on August the 19th with orders to stop any more retreating German elements from getting past this hill. And for the Polish soldiers that were on top of this hill, they knew that just around that time, the Warsaw Uprising was taking place. They were filled with hatred. If they weren't already filled with hatred from what Germany had done to their country in 1939, they were ready to kill Germans. They were not taking any prisoners. And in turn, the Germans, they knew that they couldn't surrender. They weren't going to take any prisoners. So what you have is a fight really to the death on this hill. It's one of the most violent actions of the whole Normandy campaign. The men of the 1st Polish Armored Division had raced to this hill to get here in time to cut off any more retreating German elements from getting past this hill, of course. And in doing so, they outrun their own supply lines, and they're already running low on supplies as it is to begin with. So during the fighting, it becomes increasingly desperate as the Polish are holding off waves and waves of retreating Germans as they try to break through this hill. And the Polish are waiting for either the Americans at Chambois or the Canadians at Saint-Lambert-sur-Dives to link up with them here on this hill. Both the Americans and the Canadians are having a difficult time doing their own objectives. They're trying desperately to reach the Polish on top of this hill, but it's taking a while. So the Polish fight for 3 days on top of this hill with dwindling ammunition. They are pretty much running out of petrol for their tanks, They're using them as stationary artillery platforms, almost no medical supplies. And by the end of the night of the 21st of August, the commander of the 1st Polish Armored Regiment, his name was Stefanovich, I think that's how you pronounce it. He said a message to his men. He said, "Gentlemen, all is lost. I do not believe the Canadians will be able to relieve us. You have fought well. I give you my thanks. Tonight, you die for Poland and for civilization. Continue with your same orders. After the last of your gas is used up for your tanks, it'll be every tank for itself. And after that, it'll be every man for himself." Despite the desperate situation, the Polish up here on Montauban were doing exceptionally well. They were causing thousands of German casualties. Here in this tree line on either side of this road is where part of their front line here on the northwestern part of Montauban is, overlooking that famous valley where the Germans would have been coming up this way to try and overrun the Polish on this hill. They knew how important of a position this was. Despite the fact that the Polish, towards the end of the battle, were starting to believe that they were going to get overrun, you got to give it to the Canadians. Because it was right here, on this very spot, on August the 22nd, 1944, that the Canadians, coming up from this road, from Saint-Lambert-sur-Dive, were able to finally link up with the Polish, thus closing the gap and trapping the remnants of the German 7th Army here in Normandy. When the Canadians got to this spot, they said that there was a practical rampart made of German dead bodies. So this is the spot, really, practically, where the Battle of Normandy finally came to an end. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I was on a bit of a time crunch, so I had to, speed run through some of these places. But I'm super honored to be here today to tell you about these events. And I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks. Nicopedia out.